Hi, welcome to all of you coming here. I came to this conference 5 years ago, and it was a huge turning point in my life, and it may be a turning point in your life as well, but I'll be telling you a little bit more about that later. I am a school librarian from the Western Slope, was in middle schools for many years. How many of you are middle school folks? Good, so you'll understand. We all have that really bizarre sense of humor. I think developmentally we regress and we become like those kids. So when I first moved to Washington, it was like, oh, are they ready for middle school? But they kind of got used to me. I came to this conference, worked with Peggy. Peggy came to Grand Junction, did a workshop, and the last workshop she said, oh, by the way, they're advertising for a teacher in residence. And I thought, well, you know, if you don't ever apply for things, you don't know what's going to happen. So I did, and since 2005, I've been living part-time in Washington, D.C., tiny little apartment. My husband and I said it was a cross between a college dorm and assisted living, because that's where we are in our lives. But I want to show you some of the things that the library has online. I joked with Taylor that this is kind of like, and now a word from the sponsor, or one of the sponsors. The Library of Congress is your library. It's our national library. Many people think it's just the library for Congress, but we're really trying to bring our collections alive with our resources being able to be online. It's just a huge, huge gold mine. The good news is, and you probably heard this from Peggy, is that there's over 19 million digitized primary sources. The bad news is there's over 19 million digitized primary sources, and that's just at the Library of Congress. That's not National Archives. That's not local historical societies, all of that. So it's a gold mine out there, but it takes time to get through it. So I wanted to show you a little bit about the website and what's changed. How many of you are familiar with the library's website? Okay. And how many of you have never been there? Good. I'm glad, because, you know, I think every time, if we keep bringing new people in who've never been here, then we continue to grow. And if you noticed, I did a presentation a couple weeks ago, the first day that this launched. And so it's always daunting when you go, what? The website's changing? And I have this whole PowerPoint all set up? So that's why today I decided I would just do this live and kind of point out things, and Taylor's gonna drive for me. So, but it's always a little, you know, it's kind of like, why do they have to keep changing things? But you know, we learn. You may have noticed that the main page looks a little different. We still have American Memory front and center there on the left. Prints and Photographs is no longer buried in digital collections from the top. Historic newspapers, you might not have been aware of what all we have there, which is another great resource. Performing arts, there are sound recordings, actual videos of dance, all kinds of great things. Veterans History was on the top before. Films, and maps are now a little bit front and center. One of the challenges is that there's things that kind of got moved off of front and center. I really love using the exhibitions. How many of you have used the exhibitions before? Well, it's not here. Do you see it? And I was doing this presentation live in Ohio, and it was like, oh, and exhibitions. And it was like, I hadn't looked for exhibitions after we had this change. So just to show you, so you can learn from my experience, Taylor, if you scroll all the way down, at the very bottom here, hidden, this golden treasure right here, is more exhibitions. So if you're looking for exhibitions and you're lost like I was. You might also notice that down here at the bottom are some other great links. According to the web digital experts, they say people scroll now. So getting things below the fold isn't a death sentence. I think they told that to all the people who were below the scroll so that they weren't upset. But anyway, that's beside the point. So anyway, we'll scroll back up, Taylor, and you'll notice that then topics are right here in this middle section. I want to make sure I don't step off the stage. Of course, I'd be like Jimmy Buffett, right? Laser marker would be better? Okay, let's see how well I can point. Red button, there it is. Okay, so topics are right here, and as you come down the topics, the very bottom, which does not mean that we're the least important. It means we're easier to find because we're not in the mix. but teachers is right here. Now, for any of you who are elementary, how many elementary folks do we have? Okay, if you've not spent any time in kids and families, you might want to take a look in there. So if you're online now and you want to browse around there, but come back to that because there's a lot of great things there that are for younger audiences. But we're going to focus right now on teachers. So if you wouldn't mind clicking on teachers. This is the hazard of doing something live, because you never know how fast things are going to happen. And then I really don't tap dance, but thought about doing something. I could have tried on one of those gowns. Might not have been so good. Well, one of the other things that I really, I struggle with doing presentations where I'm telling you about stuff. I would much rather show you things and have you touch these materials and use them. So the folks here at Metro State made some copies of some maps, and when we have some break time and at lunchtime, take these maps, spread them out, assemble them. They're in sections for you to assemble, and it's a great way to use maps when you only have 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, and you can talk to Taylor and he'll produce all these great things. So when you get a chance, I want you to be able to come up and touch some things and take a look. This is the teacher page. I don't know if many of you knew our Director of Education Outreach, Elizabeth Ridgway, passed away very suddenly and unexpectedly in December. So that's why her picture's there. I'd like to focus on classroom materials, and we have this new link called Find Classroom, oh, I'm supposed to point. See, this is the low-tech part of me. Find classroom materials that meet your state standards. Have any of you used this yet? Okay, well, take a look at it. If you go ahead and click on, have you clicked? Okay, it's going. You can search by state, you can search by standard, you can search by grade level, and you can also search by subject. So of course we want Colorado, and we'll pick any grade level you want, Taylor. And then by subject, so we have language arts, social studies, library/technology, but we all know technology is not a subject, right? So if we go into social studies, we can click search, and this will bring up for you things in our lesson plans, things that are in collection connections, primary source sets, all kinds of different resources are there along the right-hand side. So that may help you dig a little deeper into some of the other sections that you might not be familiar with. Collection connections are teacher resources and ideas around the Library of Congress's collections in American memory. Over 100 collections, and then those have resources there. So you can use the lesson plans that are created, you can use the activities, the presentations, and this may be a resource to you. So this was a big project that was in the works for quite some time, and now that it's launched, we're hoping that people will have a chance to use that. If you go back, Taylor, I'd like to look at lesson plans. If you've used any of our lesson plans before, you know that they were created by American Memory Fellows, of which many people here, probably in this room, were fellows. They came to Washington, learned about the collections, and then built lesson plans that they then tested out in their classrooms. Well, they've been updated a bit. They have a little different look. So if we click on See All Lesson Plans, you'll see from this that it's organized by topics. So you can see the headings of the topics, and then you can scroll down through those topics. We can look by era, or we can look by all lesson plans. If you know a lesson plan and you know the title of it, you could search by the title. But most of the time we don't know that, so it's helpful to be able to search by topic or by era. And if you'll just open a lesson plan, Taylor, I don't care which one, you'll see that the layout is a little different than it was before. Many were laid out differently depending on when they were created, but we always have an overview, then a preparation section, a procedure, and evaluation. So the layout is going to be consistent from lesson plan to lesson plan. Let's see, from here I think we'll go back to classroom materials, and you can navigate lots of different ways. That column on the left, you can always click back to classroom materials from there or at the top of the page. We also have, in addition to lesson plans, resources around themes, and then primary source sets is this button, the third one down. These are sets of materials around a topic. They're PDFs. They're ready to go. They're something that if you have 10 minutes before a class is coming, I used to use these all the time when I was in my library. You know, so-and-so has to go for a doctor's appointment. Their class is coming to the library for you to entertain them. I could go in here and I could print out these items and do an activity with kids. And so if we pick, let's do assimilation through education, which is the second one down there. This is about Indian boarding schools. There's a teacher's guide. Every one of these primary source sets has a guide that gives you some background and gives you citations for all the items. And then all the items are listed and they're available in PDF. So if we wanted to click on the PDF, next one over, Taylor. Yeah, there. This is an image of Native Americans as they were coming to a school in Pennsylvania, I believe, the Carlisle School. And this is a PDF and it's ready to print. So it's quick and easy. You don't have to do too much searching. If we go back and if you click on the PDF of the one right next to it, Taylor, show these two images. I don't know if you've seen these. Show these two and just have kids, you know, what's the same about these? What's different? What do you think's happening? Why was this photograph taken? What's the purpose? And many of them, you know, come up with great stories. I mean, even just story starters of ideas. It does happen to be that these were the same kids, just a few months later. They don't look very happy in either picture, and usually kids pick up on that. But the fact that you can get into these sets around topics, around themes, and print them out quick and easy is something that's been very popular around the country. Okay, we'll go back to TPS partners. I'm sure that you all know about the TPS partners and the project here, so we don't need to really probably click into that. Many places that I go in the country don't have TPS partners in their states, and so they're very envious of what you have available here and the great programs. We're going to look at professional development. Sorry, I'm skipping around a bit. Have any of you used our online modules? No? A few of you. These are online interactives. If you'll click down here where it says Take Self-Directed Modules, yep, right there. These are full of multimedia. There's clips at the end of them. Most of them take about an hour. It will actually print out a certificate for you on, that says that you completed 1 hour of continuing ed credit. The copyright one is very popular. For those of you in the library, we know that teaching copyright to our staff can sometimes be like pulling your hair out. But this is pretty safe, and it comes from the Library of Congress, the home of the Copyright Office, so you can feel pretty confident that it might be as accurate as you can get. But they're great, and they're just self-directed. You click through. You can even go through and find chapters and pull out chapters if you wanted to use that for professional development in your schools. So there's a whole list of these. There's many coming that are going to be added to here. Right now there's just these 6, but you can see that we look at formats, we look at supporting inquiry, just an introduction to the library, and then how to find primary sources. If we go back, Taylor, just one click. Build and deliver. There's a section there where you can actually build professional development modules for programs in your school. If you have an hour, if you have 3 days, if you have, you know, whatever, you can go through, find these things, and pick them. It'll build a collection on the right showing you how much time you've engaged in. It will give you step-by-step what you do to teach this to your peers. All the resources are there. Everything will print out. Now, you can also go in and just print out the sections that you want. So if you have a chance to go through and browse and see the resources that are here, that's another really quick and easy way to get to things that you might be able to show with your staff. I was always a devious librarian. I don't know if some of you maybe are like me. But I would leave primary sources out on the tables before the staff would come in for the staff meeting. And they'd be going, what's this? And what's that? You know, and try to get them curious. And usually it worked. And pretty soon someone would say, well, how can you help me with finding some of these things? So I think sometimes we have to kind of come in through the back door. And this is a great set of collections of topics, themes, and the actual pieces that we use when we do professional development. So you can see political cartoons, sheet music, some things that aren't just your photographs and maps and letters, a little bit beyond that. Okay, the other thing that is new and has expanded is the section on news and events. And in this section, as you scroll down, you'll see that we're now offering PBS courses online. This is where you can find out about our summer institutes. Unfortunately, the deadline to apply was February 4th. So we've missed that. But be aware that you can sign up for email updates. You can be notified when workshops are coming down the pike, and then you can have an opportunity to apply and come. Many of you have been to our summer institutes, or some of you have been. A couple of you, yeah. Be brave, raise your hand. You actually made it. We're expanding the summer institutes this year to 5 days long. And we're actually working in and including time to go into the collections. So people will go to the manuscript reading room and request materials and get to dig through those. They'll actually be able to meet with specialists, the Lincoln scholars, people in the field that are just over the top. Which is an amazing opportunity, and that's the magic of being in Washington and actually being there. Because we have 144 million items, so 19 million sounds like a lot, but when you think, okay, do our math and subtract, there's a lot of things that are not digitized yet. Okay, so let me just look at my little list here and make sure that I hit the things that I wanted to hit. When you do things online and live, sometimes you kind of jump around. So, questions? Yes?
My question is, when you have recently come into many turn-of-the-century photos from a family member who's dead, and is there a way that, other than my family having these plethora of related pictures and stuff, is there a way to share those with you?
Good question. Taylor, if you go back just to the main page. Yeah. The question is, if you've come across photographs and things, how can you make those available? I just want to tell you a story. If we go just to the main Library of Congress page, yeah. You might have noticed on this, this I think is rotating through, but there's a collection called the Lillianquist Collection. And this was a family in Virginia that collected the early photographs of soldiers from the Civil War. And they really wanted to share those with the world. And what they ended up doing was they donated them to the library so that the library would digitize those and put them online. And this archive, it's amazing. And the neat thing is that the family, I think there were 3 sons, they were involved in the actual purchasing of these things. Now, I'm sure someone funded them because these things aren't cheap. But to hear these kids, there's an essay that one of them wrote about these photographs, and he talks about, that these were other boys their age who were going off to war, and so how that family got involved. But they contacted the library. There is a place on the main site where you can ask a librarian and look for divisions and find the prints and photographs division. You could send them a letter, maybe some copies, some images of what you've got, and say, we're looking for this to be saved someplace. And they could contact you and say, yeah, this might be something we'd like to look at. Often, if it's not something that they feel covers the national scope, then they might suggest that you go to your state historical society or a local group that might deal with that specific thing, like if you're dealing with trains or a topic. But they're always welcoming people to contact them and share what they've got. So, other questions?
We don't have time.
Oh, is it up?
Yeah.
Oh, I was seeing the one, and I thought that meant I had a few seconds. So, thanks.